Sir, are you Noah Bradley? Mr. Bradley, I'm Judge McClain. I'm presiding over your case, and I'm told that you and your attorney have entered into a plea agreement with the state concerning your case. Is that your understanding? Could you speak a little louder because the court reporter takes down what you say?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The documents I've been handed indicate that you've agreed to plead guilty to 2 counts of aggravated assault, which allege that in March of 2023 you committed a violent injury to the person of Ajanaye Hill with a handgun, a deadly weapon, by shooting her with said firearm. You're charged as a party to the crime or participant in the crime, and count number 6 charges you with the same offense with regard to Samuel Moon. The paperwork I've been given by the prosecutor says that your negotiated plea is that you would receive a sentence of 20 years to serve 5 for aggravated assault, that you would be treated as a first offender, that you would be prohibited from having any contact with the families of the victims and the victims who are still living, or the co-defendants. And it says truthful testimony, which means that if any other defendants go to trial, you could be called as a witness by the state and have to tell the truth about what happened in the case. Are you familiar with all that? All right. The prosecutor is going to have a discussion with you about your rights. The reason for that is that when you plead guilty to a crime, you give up certain rights. And I have to make sure you understand that. Then she's going to give us her version of what happened in the case. After that, I'll be glad to hear from your lawyer and you if you wish to say something. If I think this is a fair sentence for aggravated assault based upon the facts of the case and your record, if any, I will go along with it. If I don't, then I'll tell you and you can back out of your plea. You understand that? And I'm assuming that all the other charges other than these 2 are being dismissed by the state as part of your agreement. Is that your understanding? All right. Ms. Ross, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. This is the State of Georgia versus Noah Bradley, 24 CR 00328. We're here today for a negotiated plea. Sir, will you please raise your right hand as best as you can? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? You can lower your hand. What is your true and correct legal name?
Noah Bradley.
How old are you?
21.
Do you read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
How far did you go in school?
11th grade.
Are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you today under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
Have you been promised anything or forced to enter this plea by anyone?
No, ma'am.
Have you gone over your waiver of rights form with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need any further time to discuss your case with your attorney?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with his representation of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty today, you are giving up certain constitutional rights?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to go over those rights with you now. Do you understand that you have the right to a trial by judge or jury, and at that trial you would have the presumption of innocence, and the state has the burden of proving your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to remain silent or to testify on your own behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to subpoena witnesses and to offer other evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to cross-examine any of the witnesses the state may call to testify against you at trial, and that you also have the right to call witnesses to testify on your own behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to the assistance of an attorney at trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to appeal if you were to be convicted at trial?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that you are giving up all of these rights and the judge will sentence you today?
Yes,
Mr. Carlton, do you waive formal reading of the indictment?
We so waive.
Do you waive any and all defects in the indictment?
For purpose of plea, we will.
Mr. Bradley, are you currently on probation or parole?
no, ma'am.
Okay. In this indictment, you are charged with a number of offenses, which include malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, violation of the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, as well as aggravated battery, criminal damage to property. Do you understand that for purposes of this plea, you are going to be pleading to 2 counts of aggravated assault?
Yes, ma'am.
And the other counts are going to be dismissed against you. Do you understand that on those aggravated assault charges, the maximum potential sentence you could receive is 40 years imprisonment, and the maximum potential fine is $200,000? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that the minimum you could receive is 1 year?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty today, it may affect your ability to vote, obtain certain services, obtain employment, and affect your right to possess a firearm?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking to be treated as a first offender under the First Offender Act?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you previously been convicted or pled nolo contendere to a felony in any jurisdiction?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me re-ask the question. Have you previously been convicted or pled nolo contendere to a felony in any jurisdiction?
No, ma'am.
Have you previously ever used first offender before?
No, ma'am.
Have you discussed the benefits as well as the cons of first offender with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you violate the terms and conditions of your first offender sentence, your first offender could be revoked, you could be adjudicated guilty, and resentenced up to the maximum sentence for each count? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
However, if you successfully complete your first offender sentence, you will not have a conviction on your record. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, Your Honor, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Hicks, who will go over the particulars of the plea agreement.
All right.
Your Honor, the terms of the negotiated agreement are for Mr. Bradley to plead guilty to counts 5 and 6 in the indictment. Both are charged as aggravated assault, with a sentencing recommendation from the state as a first offender sentence to 20 serve 5, to have no contact with the victims and their families, to have no contact with the co-defendants until the resolution of all defendants' cases, to abide by the Douglas County gang conditions which the defendant has signed and submitted to the court for signature, and to provide truthful testimony at trial. And Your Honor, we would ask that the court enter the sentence today, but enter the plea today, but hold sentencing until after the trial.
All right. So you understand that if that's what you're going to do, the defendant could withdraw his plea at any time prior to sentencing. You understand that, Ms. Hicks?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Mr. Bradley, do you understand that the judge does not have to accept this recommendation, but may sentence you up to the maximum penalty allowed under the law?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that if the judge varies from this recommendation, you have the right to withdraw your guilty plea and go to trial?
Yes, ma'am.
And knowing the state's recommendation, do you wish to waive your right to a trial by judge and jury and enter a plea today?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to count 5, aggravated assault, guilty or not guilty?
Yes.
And how do you plead to count 6, aggravated assault, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you entering this plea freely, voluntarily, and knowingly?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you entering this plea because you are in fact guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this what you want to do today?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have a right to challenge the voluntariness of this plea by filing a habeas corpus petition, and you have 4 years from today to challenge this felony plea? You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that you have a right to withdraw your plea for any reason at any time prior to the judge pronouncing a sentence in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, Mr. Bradley does not have a prior adult criminal history. And he was 19 years old at the time of the offense. If this case were to go to trial, the state would prove beyond a reasonable doubt that on March 4th of 2023, law enforcement responded to the area of Sitka Drive and Talkeetna Drive here in Douglas County in regards to multiple persons shot. In the area, there was a Sweet 16 birthday party that had just ended and multiple juveniles were outside. Upon arrival, law enforcement located the deceased bodies of 14-year-old Ajanaye Hill and 15-year-old Samuel Moon. 8 other juveniles and young adults were also shot that night, to include Kayla Brown, Isaiah Drake, Jeremiah Johnson, Tamia Peoples, Jamel Thompson, Michael Bright, Ariana Hodge, and Anthony Jackson. During the investigation of this case, law enforcement was able to determine the series of events that led to the shooting. The Doubleback Gang, also referred to as DBG, is a hybrid gang that is out of Cobb County. An alleged member of their gang had recently passed away. After the death of that person, members of the Doubleback Gang fought those who had anything negative to say about their deceased friend. It is believed that Avari Ivory, who was a 17-year-old student in Douglas County, posted negative comments about the deceased alleged gang member on his social media page. On March 4th of 2023, Timothy Coleman, Kingston Cotman, Michael Williams, Takel Beverly Smart, and Noah Bradley, all members or associates of the Doubleback Gang, arrived at the Sitka Talkeetna Drive area to attend this party. While outside gathering, the group met up with Chase McDowell, and in conversation, Chase McDowell had pointed out Avari Ivory as someone who had been posting negatively about the gang's deceased friend. Chase knew of the dispute between the two parties prior to identifying who Avari was to the gang, and Chase stated to law enforcement that members of the gang stated that they were going to approach Avari and fight him. Immediately after getting the identification of who Avari was, Cotman, Coleman, and Williams approached Avari en masse and began to fight and pistol whip him. A 15-year-old female friend of Avari tried to break up the fight, and Cotman shoots her and fires multiple other rounds into the crowd of children. Williams and Coleman also opened fire into that crowd. This resulted in the deaths of Ajanaye Hill and Samuel Moon and the shooting of 8 others. None of the kids or young adults shot were involved in this initial dispute. Immediately after the shooting, Takel Beverly Smart, who had originally drove everyone to the party, rounded up all the co-defendants to get them in the car and flee the scene. They all went to a home in Douglas County, and through social media, they learned that at least 2 kids were killed in that gunfire. It was noted by co-defendants that Cotman appeared to brag about catching a body, meaning killing somebody. As it relates particularly to Mr. Bradley's involvement, the evidence would show that Noah Bradley is loosely associated with Timothy Coleman and members of the Doubleback Gang. On the night of the incident, Bradley traveled to the party with the co-defendants. Prior to the group of defendants approaching Avari Ivory, Coleman provided Bradley with a firearm. Video of the shooting shows Bradley standing by during the altercation between the co-defendants and Avari Ivory. When shooting started, Bradley runs in the opposite direction with a firearm in his hand. The video and other evidence support that Bradley did not fire shots on scene. However, his armed presence during the jumping of Avari Ivory forms the basis of his participation in the aggravated assaults committed that evening and makes him a party to those crimes. Bradley left the scene with the co-defendants and did not contact law enforcement. Bradley's identity remained unknown to law enforcement until his arrest in March of 2024. Since his arrest, Bradley has provided a proffer to the state and has remained cooperative in this investigation, and that is why the state has formed this negotiated plea with Noah Bradley to present to the court. And Your Honor, there are 2 victims that would like to speak for Mr. Bradley's plea when the court is ready for that.
All right, you may proceed.
Your Honor, we'd actually, change of plans, would like for Mr. Bradley to be sentenced today.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Bradley, I just have one more question for you. Ordinarily, you have 3 ways to challenge your conviction. You can appeal your conviction within 30 days of your plea. You can file a motion to withdraw your plea during the term you were sentenced. Do you understand that in this courtroom, you are waiving those rights by asking the court to accept your plea?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, at this time, the mother of Ajanaye Hill, Chanel White, and the mother of Samuel Moon, Ms. Beverly LaFleur, would like to speak to the court.
Good morning. My name
Good
is
morning.
Beverly LaFleur. I am the mother of Samuel Micah Moon. What does a mother say to somebody who was party to a crime that killed her 15-year-old baby? I may not agree with everything that the court is doing today, but Noah, you were party to that crime and you knew exactly what was going to go down. I have no words for you, none, because it is just utter disgust when I think of your name now that I'm seeing you. May God have mercy on your soul.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the mother of Ajanaye Hill. Noah, you knew what you was doing. You knew what you was getting yourself into. Moving forward, I pray that you choose your friends wisely. I have a hole in my heart. I can't sleep. I don't eat. I'm not working. You knew what you was doing, and you was on a run for a whole year. You seen the news. She had a twin brother. She had a 12-year-old. Think about your actions next time.
Your Honor, at this time, the state tenders the plea.
All right. Mr. Bradley, did you understand everything the prosecutors went over in terms of your rights?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to pay particular attention to three of them. When a person pleads guilty to a crime, they give up three critical rights. The right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and question the state's witnesses and evidence, and the right to remain silent. When you plead guilty, you give up those three rights. Do you understand what those rights are?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand you're giving those rights up now?
Yes, sir.
Have you discussed the facts of this case from your point of view with your attorney?
Yes, sir.
Is your attorney making you plead guilty against your will?
No, sir.
Is it your decision to plead guilty to this case?
Yes, sir.
Then I'm going to find your plea is freely and voluntarily made with a full knowledge, understanding, and waiver of rights. There's a factual basis for the plea, and no promises or force have been used. Mr. Carlton, what would you like to present on your client's behalf?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bradley, ever since I first met him, he wanted to explain what his side of it was, and he was able to cooperate with the district attorney's office. He was able to provide information that I believe is very critical to their case, and he did so freely and voluntarily. And he's 21 years old. He was 19 years old when this occurred. He has no criminal history. That is why the state's offering him the ability to use first offender, which we asked the court to accept, along with a sealing order. He is going to cooperate in this case. He's told the prosecution what they wanted to know. He explained what happened, and he's going to testify truthfully at any trial there might be. We ask that you accept this negotiated plea, and he understands that his role in this, however it may look, was not what he intended tonight. And I believe the video will show, once the court is able to see it, that he did not fire a gun. He didn't run toward the crowd. He ran away. and we ask that you accept the negotiated.
Thank you, Mr. Carlton. Mr. Bradley, is there anything you would like to say?
I sincerely apologize to the families. I respect your decision. I respect the decision you made.
All right. Well, Mr. Bradley, I've been around a long time, and I've been around Douglas County for a very long time, about a generation. And this could be the worst crime we've ever had. I can't recall, since I came here in the early 1980s, any other mass shooting where numerous children were shot and 2 were killed. I can't recall anything that I've seen in our community worse than this. I would also say that having seen many moms and many dads who've lost their children to violence, there's no words that a judge can say to make that pain go away. There's no words that anyone can say to make your pain go away. The only thing we can do is listen and try to understand. With regard to the decision making of the government in this case, it appears to me that the prosecution doesn't want to take any chances with regard to the actual shooters, and that's not an unreasonable agenda. So I'm going to go along with the sentencing recommendation, impose the sentence as recommended, and good luck to you, sir. You can go with the deputy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, next is State versus Michael Williams. That will be a negotiated plea. May I approach, Your Honor?
All right. Thank you very much.